Greetings, adventurers. Today we're excited to introduce you to a new story, Dark Dice, a horror podcast that blurs the line between actual play and audio drama, where the story is determined by the roll of the dice. Greetings, adventurers. Today we're excited to introduce you to a new story, Dark Dice, a horror podcast that blurs the line between actual play and audio drama, where the story is determined by the roll of the dice. 6 adventurers embark on a journey into the ruinous domain of the Nameless God. They will never be the same again. One of the players is not what they seem after a doppelganger, a creature that can assume the form and voice of whatever it kills, infiltrates the team. As the players are picked off and replaced one at a time, can they figure out who the monster is before it's too late? Can you? In addition to a full-blown fantasy soundtrack with over 30 live medieval instruments and a 40-person choir, sound effects further enhance the story. Here's a quick example of what that sounds like.
The shambler with the jar of liquid inside of him.
Soren Arkwright let loose an arrow that cracked the glass, passing through the spine of the creature. The shambler still managed to maintain its forward momentum, but stumbled as it eagerly tried to bite and swipe at Soren, landing near his feet. As Rowena struck the shambling creature near Soren, she shattered the canister in its stomach, sending its liquid contents spilling to the ground. With a rush of liquid, the small fetus fell too, twitching and moving toward Rowena.
I'm gonna punt you.
Rowena launched the fetus into the mouth of the mimic with a kick.
So if you dare, gamble your sanity and subscribe to Dark Dice however you listen to podcasts, or on Spotify. Dark Dice can also be streamed at darkdicepod.com.
Welcome everyone to Journey to the Obsidian Spire. Our game, our story tonight, begins once again within the lands within the wind, a plane of existence that sits parallel to the world of Athos, ravished by Dark Sun's abuse of defiling magic. Before we rejoin what remains of our Veiled Alliance caravan, there is another bit of business to take care of. What happens to Diadella after she shatters her ghost lantern, setting off a chain of events that transports her and her allies to an ashen plane, to another world? And so we'll begin tonight with Dia. Charlie, welcome back to Dark Sun.
Hi, Don. Thanks for having me back.
Hello. Of course.
Hi.
So, we don't know what happened to Dia. We haven't seen what became of her after everyone was transported. Last time we saw Dia, she was within the Bone Tower fighting for her life against the Defiler Kargash. She kicked over her ghostly lantern, shattering it, and a fiery hand of blue cold fire came up out of the lantern, expanded into a wave, and washed over Dia. Dia, you witnessed the tower's walls turn to ash. Everyone around you turned to ash. Yourself turned to ash. And as we begin tonight, you find yourself in a cold, not entirely dark, but void of any source of sunlight or moonlight or starlight plane of existence. You hear the howling winds, and swirling around you like a sandstorm, but not sand, is just gray and black ash. And I want to know, as we rejoin, what sort of thoughts are going through Dia's mind in these several moments, maybe minutes, between her kicking over the lantern and her coming to this place?
Dia's mind, I think, has gone to that safe place that she made for herself to trap other people in. The lattice work, the lantern, the maze in her mind. And she's walking through it. And I think it for her always had a warm glow to it, always had something familiar, a candle in the dark, kind of a glow. But now it's got that after hours city night feel. The steps echo just a little bit more. Everything's quiet and dim and dark in her mind. And she remembers that person who tried to push in, that frustration on the other side, and she remembers her conversation with Kargosh about who had sent the assassin, the inept assassin, the messenger to her, and that it was her mother. And as she opens her eyes and she sees this equally dim and empty place, she's thinking about her mother and how as a figure she was always absent. She was always a shadow in Dia's life, someone that she wanted to understand, someone that she wanted to be closer to than she ever really was, someone that she feared and respected all at once, and someone that she also tested a number of times when she had more power, when she had a little more youthful security in herself. And she remembers pushing against her mother's mind more than once just to see if she could find a crack, find a different way in. And I don't think she ever succeeded.
Your mother is one of the more powerful scions, at least in the city of Balak. And in this plane that you find yourself in now, even as you're withdrawing into your own mind, it's like you can almost see phantoms in the ash. You can see the outline silhouettes of individuals that you've known in your life. There one moment and gone the next. Not speaking, just part of the howling backdrop of everything around you. Roll me a perception check.
I'd love to roll you a perception check. 4 with a natural 1.
Everything around you is the same. Darker in some places than others. Almost like there's entire regions of no light at all. Not like silhouettes, like entire areas, large swaths, but 360 degrees all around you. Everything's the same. It's dry, it's cold, and it's gray.
She takes a breath in, and pushes with her mind to see if she can find magic in this place. Pushes to find the limits and the edges in a different way from using her physical senses, because she can't see. And everything here seems to be numb with the absences.
Are you using a specific ability?
Yeah, I will use my Trail of Destruction to see if I can sense defiling magic in this place. Because that's the best ability I think I have available to me for this. So as an action, I can determine. Would you like me to roll something?
No, I won't make you roll for this. Everything here has been defiled. Defiling magic is everywhere, the remnants of it.
As she exhales that breath that she took, she's going to take a step forward to see if her body even exists, even responds in this place.
You can feel the mounds, the shifting piles that have hardened from pressure of ash beneath your feet. It's something like sand. You are entirely certain, because you have a strong connection with your mind and your body, that you are here, that this is a place, that you're not trapped within your mind.
Facing forwards, she just begins to walk a slow pace, and I think the sand, the ash, perhaps in places it shifts, and she's caught off balance, which is not normal for her. And she skids a little, perhaps, down one of these mountain sides. But she gets back up, because she knows either she'll arrive somewhere or someone will find her. She doesn't want to stay still in this place. And she has as long as it takes.
Roll me an intelligence saving throw.
Whose brain am I in, Don? Whose? 15.
Dia, you're walking through the howling ash, through the winds, and the light changes as you move into a darker region. Everything around you dims, and then you move out of it again, and it gets a little bit lighter. And during this walk, in your condition too, you were recently nearly killed. Like, you're pretty wounded. I imagine pretty tired. And this is not a forgiving place, and you almost miss it. You almost don't feel it. And then you do. You become aware. It's not that you're within someone else's mind. It's that there is a presence trying to find its way into yours.
I think something that she would not normally do, but given her mood and her need for answers, she will let them in. She wants to know who's coming knocking.
When we do psionics in Dark Sun, one of the things you're able to do is you're able to create the fortress, the avatar of what your mind is. It can be a place, it can be populated with people, it can be not populated with people. I think once Dia described the fortress that she created for herself as a maze of mirrors, but it could be something else too. So as you kind of accept this presence into your mind and withdraw into your own mind so that you might be able to see it or interact with it, what is the fortress that Dia creates inside her mind?
I think she begins to go back to that lantern maze, but with her mother on her mind, instead it becomes the villa she grew up in, her home in Balak. But it's kind of a dream version of it, where you open doors and they don't lead to the rooms that they lead to in reality. They lead into different places. An art gallery, a private chamber of someone she knew. You just open the door and step through. But the room that she begins in is the dining room, the dinner room. The place where her mother and father would occasionally have meals, but she and her siblings would talk, would argue, debate, and the room has a large table, too large for the number of people who actually live in the house, but always ready for guests, and it's laid with candles all along. And these candles are Dia's creations, her early works, glass, and they spring up and coil like smoke. It's a blackened glass, and above that, the candle, it's tallow wax, and the flames all burn different colors. And briefly, one of them burns blue and becomes a hand, and she smiles, but she knows that she's the one that's making it do that. And it settles back down to just a normal flame. And she paces around this table, the room shadowy, and she looks towards the doors. Too many doors, not the right number of doors for the real room. And she waits to see which one will open.
In this fortress that you've created, this room, has Dia created the image of her father, her mother, her brother?
I think she has summoned their phantoms because she's remembering, even as she's making this place, she's making it of memories. But they are memories that are kind of fading, kind of like trying to remember a dream. You focus on the faces and they're slightly blurred. The features aren't quite finished.
You can see the tall, thin form of your mother wearing a dark black toga, kind of faded in the memory, a wrap around her face, around her eyes, but that wrap, that white cloth around her eyes is faded too. You can see the straight back, almost arrogant military-esque quality of your father at the other end of the table, but his face is entirely blurred. And your brother, more fluid, more energetic, like he's having a conversation with a phantom of you at a different time, but his face is blurred. No words escape his lips. You're walking around, and all at once, all of the doors in the room open. They creak slowly open, and then they slam shut. And as soon as they slam shut, there's another figure sitting at the table, not blurred, not a memory. She appears to be a beautiful, young, maybe late 20s, humanoid woman with dark, long hair that stretches all the way down over the back of the chair to the floor, and emerald, striking eyes. There's a certain air of confidence to her, of ease. You recognize her as being the same figure that you saw in your mind once before, and as soon as you do, you remember that she doesn't have legs. That coiled around the bottom of the chair is the long, roiling tail of a snake. And she looks to you, not paying any attention to the phantoms of your family.
No, please, take a seat. Dia instantly is irritated. She didn't mean to become defensive. She'd essentially invited this person in, but she instantly is annoyed that this person is here. How dare someone come knocking? And she'll take herself to her father's seat at one end of the long table and sit and clasp her hands before her as she had when she'd taken the meeting with Kargosh, looking down towards the woman expectantly.
She doesn't open her mouth. She only smiles at you, but you can hear her voice in the back of your mind. There's a sort of soothing, honeyed quality to it, but something hungry or ambitious as well. And she says, I told you that we should speak soon. Is now a good time?
Be my guest.
I've been watching you and your temporary allies. I find you fascinating. I think that your goal and my goals might be aligned.
So make your proposition. You have my attention.
I'm coming to your world. It's just a matter of time now. And things will change in Athos when I do. The structures of power that your people have become so familiar with over time. The petty men who've ruined your world and still ruin your world will fall from their towers and be replaced. There will be a new way forward, and in that, I seek allies. I seek strong, intelligent, capable women who I can teach, who wish to ascend. Do you wish to ascend?
I'm entertained that you've pandered to my ego, to my ambition. I think ruination is a matter of perspective, but we both clearly see the opportunity. Tell me, what is it that you propose I would do when the ashes shift and you rise?
I would have you be my Templar. At first, I would show you the way forward. In return, I only ask two things. One, let me in. Serve me and I will serve you. And two, say nothing, not even to your... And her eyes, even though she's not speaking, her eyes turn towards the phantom of your brother. About your mother. When I come, I will give you Balak. You can be its queen, or whatever you wish to call yourself. You will be as Caesar.
Why do you protect my mother? What is she to you?
Your mother is dead, dear, and what you see as your mother now is one of my people, and has been for a long, long time.
And Dia, her face gives it away. She's running through her memories to fact check this. Has she ever had a suspicion that what her mother became wasn't still her mother. Are there any clues that she missed? She's insight checking this person, I suppose, but it's more a memory. She's more insight checking her mother every time she's seen her in recent history, I suppose.
Sure. Roll me an insight check, and
Okay.
I'll give you a number of questions you can ask based on the number you get.
14.
So the 14, I'll allow you to ask 2 questions, and the answers may or may not be vague.
Oh, it's hard. All right. What was the last meeting Dia had with her mother, Don? When was the last time she saw her?
You have seen your mother a number of times, and more often, actually recently, than maybe when you were a young woman. Your mother's position doesn't allow her to be out in public, not very often. But over the last few years, your mother's been breaking tradition, appearing more often in public, sometimes with the rest of your family. She doesn't speak often, and when she does, she can only speak in her mind. She can only speak telepathically. And even though you've seen her more frequently over the last few years, she's also been colder.
When Dia was in her presence, did she feel a shift in the magic of her mother?
I'll give you this one for free. Your mother doesn't know any magic. Your mother is a pure scion.
Well, that's good to know, because that means if I felt magic, then my mother's up to bullshit. Alright. Has Dia felt her mother reach out to her since she's left Balak and not realized? Now that she's searching, now that she's looking. That'll be my last question.
Not to you, but I'll give you this, that a couple of your communications since you've left the city with your brother, that he's mentioned feeling watched. But when he turns around, nobody's there.
Sorry, I was just making a note. I don't forget that. She searches through, and the moment of silence hangs there as she's doing her internal fact check. Why women?
Not only women, of course. My father was a cruel emperor in our world. Our people suffered greatly under him. He saw through the doorways that lead to your world. He saw how your kind uses magic. And he believed that he could be greater if he used the same kind of magic. Our world began to change like yours. You know what defiling can do. Began to die. I had to take care of him. I had to protect our world. This defiling for thousands of years in your world has been a man's tool to gain power at the expense of all others. I would change that when I come to rule.
In the city I just left, everything is paid for in secrets. This would cost you too.
You can see a slow curl of her lips. It causes her lips to part slightly, and for a second there's just a flicker of a forked tongue before it slides back in. And you know that she agrees.
I want my power back.
Done.
I want you to offer me the second secret. If we are to serve each other.
The defiler who tried to kill your father is closer than you think. And I could show you.
Give him to me. We need to have a conversation.
Done.
Done.
Charlie,
Yes.
is Dia being truthful in her intention to accept this bargain being offered to her?
She is. She is willing to run down this corridor until she finds a window. But she's willing to be very patient until she finds a window. She's very tired and very frustrated, having had to live with the losses she had, and she sees an opportunity. And you keep your enemies nice and close. And sometimes they're your friends.
The doors in the room open up again. As it does, all of the candles blow out with a draft, and the phantoms of your family fade into the air. The queen of the Moon Guthay, you get her name. It hangs in your head like a memory that's always been there. Pil Lilith. And she goes too. And it's just you inside your fortress until you decide to leave.
She stays there for a little while, tempted to call the phantoms back and play in her mental doll's house for a while. There's a slight fear in her gut, slight doubt about what she's just agreed to. But she rises from the table and she walks to a door and she steps into the maze of mirrors until she finds the reflection she's looking for. Places her hand against her own hand on that warm surface, because in a lantern the light reflects and the heat bounces. And her hair grows in shine. And she finds that tiny drop of sunshine left. And she'll leave, casting her little safe place away.
You look through your own eyes again. You are back in the howling, ashen plain. But your surroundings have changed a little bit now. It's not just endless mounds and dunes of ash. You see crumbling stone building sticking up from the ash. A pillar here, a roof here, half buried in the gray, and you see an object that you recognize very, very clearly. The great statue of Caesar Androponus, the hero. This is the statue that he had built when he first became Caesar. It overlooks Balak's port. The statue's crumbled, and the cracked head of it lies half sticking out of the ash, its terrible gaze staring blankly into the winds. And there is a figure cradled underneath the cheek of that statue's face. Rysar Ruathamir. Toby, welcome back to Dark Sun. So, Toby, when last we saw Rysar here in the Lands Within the Wind, you were within that crumbling stone building. You had just fought alongside Kronkwall and Akasha, Marilla, several Yuan-Ti. The building turned to ash from the defiling magic used there. Not your defiling magic, I'll note, not this time. It was somebody else's. And as it turned to ash, you began to turn to ash too, as did everyone around you, fading back into the plane. When you open your eyes again, you rematerialize. You're still in the Lands Within the Wind, but you open your eyes and you see up above you, sort of covering you, the head of Caesar, a gigantic stone head, very similar to the statue in Balak that overlooks the port.
Interesting. Do I believe that it's perhaps a reflection of that statue, or do I think that there's just a very similar statue in this plane?
Roll me an insight check.
Ooh.
Or Arcana. I'll give you either.
This is good, because we established that I'm pretty good at Arcana, which I didn't actually realize, so I'm going to use that. Let's see, what do I get? Oh, 12.
A 4 on the die. I'll let you ask me one question about your surroundings. It can be the one you just asked if you want.
Yeah, does it feel like, do I think this is a reflection of what I know as reality, or is it like its own original reality?
You, and you already actually know a good deal more than most about the Lands Within the Wind, as we established last session. So, yes, this is a reflection of Balak. If you were to imagine where you are in terms of this plane, this is likely the place that overlaps Balak in this plane of existence. And these crumbling ruins are the ruined reflection of Balak, destroyed by all of the defiling magic that's occurred here.
And this is a reflection of the port of Balak. Can I look out to where I think the sea would be? The Silt Sea?
You can. And all you see is more endless, swirling, howling ash. No difference in terms of there being sand or silt there. It's all ash. And just like in the other place you were, regions of darkness, regions of slightly lighter gray, reflections of where defiling magic's been most abused.
And did you say I'm sort of cradled within this statue somehow, or am I at the foot of it, or?
Yeah, imagine that the statue's crumbled, and what you're cradled underneath is the broken off head that's just sort of sticking out of the ash, and you're like underneath the cheek of it.
Planet of the Elves.
That's right, Planet of the Elves.
Oh, okay. Am I still feeling terrible and exhausted and cold and tired and worn down? Okay, fantastic. I just want to look around and take in my new surroundings, see if I can make out any specific shape, see if I feel like I'm alone. Do I have my familiar with me still?
Yeah, your
Because you know I
familiar
love
is
my
like
familiars.
perched on the nose of the statue right now, like burrowing down as much as it can so that the winds aren't knocking it off.
Yeah. I want to sort of command my familiar to come down with me and sort of try and use a bit of its body warmth to like warm me up, as it was the cold and the wind that warmed me down. And I'm not prepared to use any defiling magic here because I saw what happened last time. So I'm not going to use some cheap parlor trick to keep myself warm. Might start actually bonding with a familiar before the inevitable comes.
Roll me an animal handling check.
Well, I command it. I'm not asking.
I mean, it's gonna follow your command either way.
10.
Yeah, it flies down. It follows your command, and you're able to burrow up against it. But there's a single sharp peck against your cheek. You feel like just a little draw of blood.
You'll pay for that, my friend. Can I see anything around me? You said there's shapes in the grey.
Yeah. So you see a silhouette of a person. Looks like they're moving through the howling ash in your general direction.
I give a mental command to my familiar to stay quiet. And I stay perfectly still because I know that there can be horrific, horrible things on this plane. So I want to sort of just, without looking like I'm trying to hide, just be still against the statue. Hopefully I'll just be part of the silhouette and see what they're about. In fact, can I use my elven perception to try and make out anything about them? So I think
Absolutely.
elves. Oh, we have low light vision and keen senses. Yeah, cool.
So
Like a
let's bring
perception
in
check
Charlie
or-
as well. Yeah, roll me a perception check.
Hopefully it's another extremely mediocre. 9! It is!
Your normal rolling is still happening.
Exciting.
So why don't you, Toby, describe what Rysar looks like, and then we'll have Charlie describe what Dia looks like as the two of you your eyes meet here in front of this crumbling statue.
Yeah, so Rysar is at the moment looking quite disheveled. Probably looking a bit aged, beyond his 50-odd years, which for an elf is very young. He's very tanned skin, long black hair, although it's full of ash and dust at the moment. He's wearing the extremely weather and travel-beaten toga robes of a praetor of Balak. He has a bone staff with him, with an obsidian orb mounted on the end. And he has other bits and bobs on his person. A long blade, an elven long blade, is slung at his belt. And he appears to have what looks like a castrecle huddled in with him, looking mildly uncomfortable.
Castrecle's imagine like a vulture, but a little bit more scaly and dinosaur-y.
Kind of pterodactyl.
Yeah.
And Rysar's 7 foot tall. Yeah. But he's sort of crouched down at the moment.
Okay. What's Dia look like as Dia approaches?
For Rysar, he sees what is clearly a woman with long yellow blonde hair, which seems to almost glow just faintly gold. She's wrapped in a number of ornate fabrics, prepared for travel, but just visible between these fabrics at her side are 2 daggers, 2 obsidian ones that she collected during the chaos of Alteruk and is yet to get rid of. And I believe these are snake-handled daggers, right, Don? They were the cultists. And they are clear because the fabric she wears are bright or pale, and these are, you know, jet black and bladed. And she has an even pace. As she draws closer, it becomes clearer that she's late 30s, perhaps, if she's human. It's hard to tell because you can't see her ears, which is the easiest way to tell if she is human or not. But she is keeping an even pace. You see bruises at her wrists, which just peek out from the fabrics that are draped around her, and a tiredness that pulls at her eyes. Her eyes are a deep burgundy purple color, magnified slightly by the spectacles she wears, which are bone-rimmed and circular in shape.
How tall
She knows
is
you're
Dia?
there. Dia is about 5'8". She is much shorter than Rysar, if he truly is 7 feet tall.
Yeah, crouched down at the moment though. Can I check? Can I do sort of purple eyes? Doesn't sound human to me. Can I do some sort of check or something to try and discern if I know what race you are?
Insight
John,
check.
is there something? Or... Insight, yeah, cool.
Yep.
I wish I'd known more about the mechanics of... 14, that's better than the original mediocre 3 or 4. 14. The dwarf.
With a 14, you know that humans, it's rare to have that sort of color eyes, but you can think of a few that you've met in Balak who have those eyes.
Is it a natural color or is it something to do with psionics?
It's a natural color.
Okay. Rysar has strikingly blue eyes. It says Muad'Dib blue on my character sheet. And they're presently squinting at you.
So the two of you, your eyes meet, and it's not any less cold or any less windy here, except for where Rysar is huddled for the statue.
Good day.
Hello. What brings you to this dreary place?
Having a look around, I suppose. Yourself?
She glances from side to side into the statue. I always hated that. Before my time.
The statue?
Yes.
Are you Balakan?
I am. And an artist.
Ah. Perhaps I've seen your work. Pray tell, what's your name or brush name if you go by one?
Dia. Dia Della.
Excellent, most excellent. Have I heard of Diadella? Don or Dia?
Roll me an insight check. Or a history check.
19.
You
Rysar does
have
enjoy
heard-
art.
Yeah. You would know that Dia, and Charlie can expound if she wants, Dia has worked fairly closely in the past, and especially recently, I believe, with House Jarko. Farouk.
As an artist?
Yes. Even Horsun's bought some of her art, so if you know him, you may have seen some of her pieces.
Nice. Diadella, as I live and breathe on another plane of existence, I have heard of you. I think we have mutual associates, acquaintances, dare I say friends.
I believe
How's
we do.
Jarko?
Right.
Forgive me. I am Rysar, traitor of the 2nd district of the arena.
I am aware.
So what brings you here?
Works you have wrought? Oh. This trip was a gift from my mother.
Another
She believes in the
Balakan,
opening
obviously?
of her children's minds, it would seem.
Excellent. In an artistic sense or travel sense?
Apparently in a metaphysical sense.
Ah.
Or should that be psionic?
A student of the way. I was never disciplined enough in my mind to
No, you
go
weren't.
as far as I wished.
And she smiles at him, knowing she just cut him off in the middle of what he was saying.
He's so used to it. Well, I must say I have great admiration for people of your ilk. Not only are you talented artist, but also a disciplined explorer of the id. Oh, to have your talents.
One day, maybe. If you're very
Maybe.
good. How good are you, Praetor?
In a metaphysical sense? Hopefully not an artistic sense, because I must say a brush in my hand is a mess.
As are many things. But what are your gifts?
My gifts are scant and far between. My hope is small amount of ability I have I can use to serve my people.
What quaint ambition. I'd hope for more, really. How are your journeys, Praetor?
It's interesting, I must say. I've never been to this plane before, so that's exciting. How about yourself? Tell me of your travels. Must be exciting. So your mother sent you here?
In a manner of speaking. All roads
May
lead
I-
to the same point with her. You know how parents like to guide their children, even when they are grown.
Yes, I must say I do not speak to my parents. They are far away. But yes, I understand.
And as for myself, I feel like I am parenting every day at the moment.
Oh, how so?
surrounded by those with such reckless ambition they don't know what to do with it.
Hmm.
A danger
I
to
know a few like
themselves
that.
and others.
Quite. It's as though you're speaking of some people I know very well.
As you said, we probably have mutual friends.
As far as I know, our mutual friends know perfectly well what they're doing with their ambition, unless we have.
I think then we
other
have
mutual
very
friends.
different mutual friends.
I speak of Taruk, the head of House Jarko. Who do you speak of?
I think Taruk is the most excellent of our mutual friends.
A most excellent individual, indeed.
He doesn't mention you, though. Ever.
Well, discretion, as always. I might be offended if he did. Good old Taruk.
He is doing well, by the way.
Excellent. Oh, well, how is Balak? Have you been in Balak? May I inquire? I've been away from the city.
Balak is doing well.
Really?
Oh, Taruk is doing poorly.
Oh,
But things are improving. Some of us make useful allies to House Jarko. Others
Taruk
go
is doing-
wandering, from what I understand. Wandering far, far away to meddle in things that do not concern them, Traitor.
You speak of me. This is strange. I've been hearing whispers of rumours going around of my absence. The last person I spoke to claimed I'd run off in the night, which was interesting.
To
Perception
see a
of events.
Praetor run. Could you imagine?
Oh, quite. I must say, I'm not really a runner. In fact, I was mocked as a youth for my poor running skills. It's a bit of a thing amongst elves, you see. Yes, I've always been in more of a stay around, tough root kind of elf. And if it's really too terrible to deal with, just shut the door.
Right.
Never run. Intriguing. Have you been speaking? I feel like my name might be, I don't know, be spoken of more than I'm accustomed to in Balak.
I wouldn't know. And I want to kill his pet with a dagger.
Make me an attack roll.
Bum, bum, bum.
I wouldn't
Wait,
know.
this one. 16.
I mean, yeah, that's gonna do it. It's a familiar.
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Describe how you kill his pet with a dagger right after you say it. I wouldn't know.
So after he's done saying how he doesn't run and is very slow, she's very quick. And the two daggers, one in each hand, are present, and she slices the bird's head clean off. And I imagine because it's a familiar, it disintegrates or disappears, whatever it does. And the other dagger comes straight up to Rysar's neck. The next time you try and harm my family, wear your own face. Praetor.
Who's your family again?
Toby, roll me an insight check. I'll make the DC a little easier this time.
Cool. Insight, did you say?
I would take perception or insight, either way.
Oh, do perception then.
Okay.
17, because I rolled a 13 plus 4, yeah.
You can see it now. You recognize the purple eyes. You recognize the face. You recognize this person. This is a person that you know, although their features, well, I'll let Charlie take the rest. You want to tell Toby who you are.
Now that she's closer, you can see that her features are a little older than they had appeared before, now that she's closer. And just peeking out beneath that golden blonde hair, dark black roots. And you realize that this is Traitor Nadia Pomblador. And she's very pissed, because you tried to kill her father. Praxis, I will fill in the name for you.
Traitor.
Traitor.
I fear there must be some kind of misunderstanding, and I'm just slowly sort of like just putting a finger up and moving the dagger away from the neck. Where are you getting this information from?
Someone who wouldn't lie to me. Next
So,
time you
not
want to
a
play
Balakan.
politics, Praetor, choose the right house.
I have always been forthright and forward in my support for the mighty House Tomblador. I don't know if you caught my speech in the Palace Gardens. It was quite clear where my allegiances lay. So maybe
Words
you
are
should be
pretty.
questioning your information
Art
sources.
that lasts much longer. And she twists, and the dagger that was used to kill the bird comes down to the gut. She's not stabbing him, but she's showing, like, you are on, like, a knife's edge right now, and she's really angry.
Hmm.
Tell me something useful, Rysar. Give yourself some worth. Or perhaps House Jarko will need to reconsider your employment.
My employment? Last I thought, House Jarko was dragging me off without asking if I wanted to go or if I wished to be paid. So I don't think I'm employed by House Jarko, nor am I employed by House Tomblador. I'm employed by the city of Balak. Caesar.
Where are you, Rysar?
Where am I?
Not immediately. Previously.
Who knows, quite frankly. Not in Balak. Where are you? Previously.
In a place that I cannot remember the name of, but I think begins with a G. Golg?
You're heading to Golg.
That's right, we're on our way to Golg.
Yeah.
Thank you. There. Quite the opposite direction, I imagine.
So, Praetor, where are your allegiances laying these days? With House Tomblador? With the city of Balak? With Caesar? With House Jarko?
Always with
With
the
yourself?
city of Balak. Praetor.
Yes. Always with the city of Balak. What next, dear? He just starts touching the dagger. Snakes? Where did you get these? Exquisite craftsmanship.
There are new factions at play. Ones we must consider very carefully. If the city is what we truly serve.
What does your father think of this?
You're the one that's seen him most recently. You tell me.
We did not speak of snakes. Well, I think he was accusing me of being one, but other than that, I mean...
I'm sure he was being metaphorical.
Yes. How are you doing with your father?
Rysar, you will answer one of my questions without deflecting it.
Shoot.
And you feel the dagger push into your gut as hard as she could.
Without breaking the skin? Ask your question, dear. Seems as you've given me so much. It would be rude not to answer.
Would be. Manners are everything, traitor.
I could not agree more. So ask a question and I will consider answering.
Consider very quickly, Rysar.
What do you want to know?
Why did you make the attempt? Because you failed.
I serve the city of Ballet. I do not serve your father, other than when he was working for Caesar Androponus and the city. I do not believe some coup should happen from House Tomblador, taking power from the people. I do not believe your father has the best interests of the city of Balak in mind. And let me be perfectly clear. Your father threatened my life. And if you'll excuse me, please, John, I will use my defiling magic to cast Misty Step.
Reaction from Dia. Does Dia attempt to do anything as he utters this word?
I think as the word comes out, she'll attempt to just drive both daggers in. I think she'll lose, because Misty Step's very fucking quick.
That's what Misty Step does.
But it's a reflex, right? You hear someone's about to do something and you try and stop them. And it's just both daggers lunge forward, and I think both arms go as he disintegrates into this mist.
It's like Sandy Step for Rysar too. So you drive it through him as his body turns to sand and whips around. And Rysar, you moving around past Dia, but you can't reform. You're caught there, whipping about in the ash. And Dia, as your two daggers strike into the stone of Caesar's head, that statue, the cracks grow, and you can hear just the snapping of stone as the head begins to break away and as pieces fall off all around you with the use of the defiling magic. Dia, roll me a Constitution saving throw. Rysar, you have to do
awful at these. 10.
Me
I
as
think
well,
that's the
Dom.
best she's ever done.
Yeah. Because you defiled.
Yeah. I knew it was a risk. Right. Oh, the good old -1. 12.
That's better than me
Okay.
at a +1. With a 10.
+1. Let's pull up our defiling magic here. Misty Steps 2.
As the daggers come in and it happens, I think she screams out, "Where is Caesar?" And then his head dramatically cracks and crumbles, and defiling magic happens.
All right. So you're both going to take necrotic damage from the use of defiling. 5 necrotic damage. Does that take either? Because you're both really beat up. Does that take either of you down?
I'm fine. I'm fine.
1 hit point. All right. So, Diaz, you cry out, and the statue crumbles all around you and turns to ash. This area gets dark, very dark and very cold, and you can just hear the howling of the wind and the echo of your voice on it. Where is Caesar? And Rysar, as you're blowing about, trying to reform from sand into who you are, again, you hear a voice inside your head, and you know that there's a presence trying to get in. You hear the voice say to you, "Do you still seek the green place, the prophecy for your people?"
Yes.
"And let me in." You can feel a presence prodding further at your mind.
Okay, I think because Rysar is a student of the way, he's worked on his fortress, and it's a dead and barren version of the elven tribal camp, the nomadic tents that he was brought up in, and it's nighttime in the desert, and the 2 moons are shining down, but it's completely abandoned, apart from Rysar's avatar, which is just in the center of the camp, in front of the shaman's tent, and it's just poking out of the sand, and it's small little tentacles. And it's the figure of a buried Gage, which he has seen before. And that's Rysar in his fortress mind. But it's not being defensive or attacking. It's just staying there, listening, and using the way to sniff at the air.
Does he allow the presence in willingly?
Yeah.
You see the moonlight in your fortress shift, Rysar. The moon, the red, the golden, the green, the colors come down, the 2 moons crisscross like spotlights, hitting a single spot in the sand by the tents. You can see that they are uncovering a seed just laying there in the sand, and that seed begins to crack open and roots begin to grow out of it, begin to stretch upward. And you know that this presence, it's not speaking to you. It's like it's burrowing itself in. And you can try to fight it, or you can let it happen.
Rysar is so obsessed with this idea that I think this is probably the only thing that would make him let his guard down. So he's going to let it in.
You can hear on the wind inside your mind that voice again as that seed continues to grow slowly, but you're watching it inside your mind. "We'll speak again soon." And that is where we're going to end this scene and move on elsewhere. We won't have Toby for the rest of this episode. He's going back to Tales from the Silt Expanse. Toby, before we transition over, do you want to say anything? Let us know what you're up to. Anything at all?
Yeah. I am basically just loving playing Tales from the Silt Expanse, and I loved our crossover episode as well. So give a shout out to someone who gave us a shout out. Wizard Lizard, was it? Someone gave us a very lovely tweet. Anyway, if you go to LFM's Twitter page, you'll see a very lovely tweet. They play in a D&D group called Show Us Your Crits. So yeah, go check them out. Thanks for the shout out. But yeah, I'm just loving the game. And also I was thinking, like, God, I hope Don asked me about, or Chris asked me about Rysar's fortress, because I've thought about this loads. Yeah, so catch me on social, Toby Osmond. Yeah, you find me. Yeah. Thanks, Don. Lovely to meet you, Charlie, as well. And lovely to have two Brits in the same stream. What?
Right? That's it. We're taking over. LFM is ours now.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm also pleased that the winter faux fur coat collection is coming out, because it's chilly and blighty. That's all I've got to say for myself.
Yeah, it's a bit grey today.
Thank you, Toby. Thank you very much for joining us. Love getting to play with you and run for you a couple more times. I'll see you over on Silt Expanse. I'm over there too. And I'm excited to see what comes of all of this crossover. But for right now, we're going to go to a break, everyone. Grab a snack, grab some food. We'll be back in 5 minutes or so. We'll bring in everybody and we'll continue our story. Until then, bye.
Bye.
All right, and we're back for more Journey to the Obsidian Spire as we check in on some of the other members of our adventuring party. So, Ebo Stranit, the cloud of ash that you found yourself in at the end of the last episode drifts away, moving sort of like a passing storm, and with it, everyone else that you are with. You find yourself alone. You're back in your world. You can feel the difference between this place and the lands within the wind in your bones. But where you are is not like anywhere you've ever seen, at least not when you were awake. You stand upon a cracked obsidian surface that has been ground down into a fine black sand, perhaps over time. Looking around you, you can see a vast plain of obsidian spreading out before you to the south, dotted by strange black petrified trees. And then to the north, less than maybe half a mile away, loom 6 enormous trees, much larger than any you've ever seen in your life, that don't appear to be petrified, and each of them must stand at least 200 feet tall, blotting out the great dark sun in the sky and casting everything beneath them into shadow. The ground itself here, this plain, the sand stretches on, sometimes rising up with obsidian pillars and then back down. After everything that you've experienced, Ebo, in the lands within the wind and with this adventuring party, the visions you've had, those shapeshifters you've faced, seeing your daughter again, just briefly. I want to check in on where's Ebo's head at right now?
Confused. Just knowing that he's powerful in a way, but not knowing what to do. Knowing that he's powerful, but also useless at the moment, because he's not able to kind of figure out what's going on or get his bearings. Almost in the past, almost half hour, I feel like he's been through like 2 or 3 different planes, so he's just, or like not planes, but different feelings, different zones or areas or environments. So at this point, he's just confused and wants to find a direction, start taking it.
What guides Ebo's decision making and which way to go? Is it trying to connect to his sense of magic? Is it trying to use the landscape to guide him?
I think the lands more so than anything, because although he knows his magic is the one constant, it doesn't feel like maybe his magic might be able to help him until he actually needs it. So I think he's going to try and see what details the land can tell him.
Okay. Roll me I'll give you either survival or perception. And depending on what you roll, I'll let you ask me some questions, a certain number of questions.
Perfect. So survival, or what was the other one?
Perception.
Perception. Okay. Do survival here, and let's see what I rolled. Did it not? Hello? Let me just do it again. Oh, I accidentally clicked. Okay, there we go. 23.
23 is really good. So with the 23, I'll allow you to ask me 3 questions about the environment to try to help figure out where Ebo wants to go next.
So the environment around me, you said that there's like this kind of like almost black, grainy, obsidian colored, like sand type around. And then some ways away, there's 6 huge 200-foot trees.
So you have, the major land points here. You're sort of on this black sand. It stretches out in all directions. And in one direction, those 6 looming trees that kind of, you can see the edge of the sun above them, but it's partially blocked out just from how massive they are. In the
Right.
other direction, an entire forest, a petrified forest, but the trees there are much smaller and thin. It's hard to tell what's wrong with them, but you can tell that something's wrong with the forest. And then in the other direction, the sand turns into flat obsidian ground. And there seems to be two rising sort of cliffs, black cliffs, and a sort of canyon stretches between them.
Think Ebo's going to make his way towards the 6 big trees. As he's walking, as I'm walking, I'm going to... I know that Ebo wears like some thick flip-flops or whatever, or sandals. I'm going to kind of dig my sandal a little bit into the black sand and kind of like wiggle it between my toes to maybe just see if is this any different? Is this sharp? Like, is this a place that's supposed to just hurt me right off the cuff? Like, it's just another check or test of like, what am I getting myself into?
Doing so and kind of rubbing the sand on the sole of your foot, it is sharper than regular sand. It's not quite as fine as normal sand. So it does cut your foot a little bit. It doesn't, doesn't rip your foot open. It doesn't seem super dangerous, the sand itself, but it's definitely sharper.
All right. I'm going to balance on my one foot and then shake the sand off that one sandal that I had there, slip it back on, and then I'm going to make my way towards those 6 trees. Do I sense any wind, like either any gusts of wind or moving air, or do I see any at the horizon of like any incoming gusts or anything like that?
There's a slight breeze, but it is very hot here. Not humid, just hot.
Okay. Alrighty. Good to know. So just making my way towards the 6 trees and kind of just focus. I'm going to focus on that and not look around. I'm just kind of... Ebo feels like in this place, like it's easy to get disoriented or nauseated if like... In all the places he's been, it seems like if you don't have intentionality or focus, that it's kind of easy to get lost in it. So making a beeline, keeping his focus very intentional at a point that he sees on the ground or a point that's a part of a tree, and just making his way straight towards it.
You begin to walk towards those massive looming trees in the distance. And as you get closer, the sand gives way to smooth obsidian plain. It reflects the sunlight, making it even more hot. It's brutally hot here, as this obsidian just reflects the sunlight off the ground directly into your face. And as you kind of, for a second, readjust your vision, you trip over a chunk of obsidian that's sticking out of the ground, just stumble a little bit, and blends well enough to escape notice. And you find yourself looking down through this black plane. It's not entirely... It's somewhat translucent. And looking through it, you can see a single skeletal fish swimming beneath the black, like a fish would. But this has no scales, no skin, no flesh. It's entirely skeletal. And then behind it, a school skeletal fish floating beneath the black plane, the obsidian plane. And they disappear from view.
Oh, how strange. I must get out of here as quickly as I can.
And gonna get my scarf and wrap it around my face so that I can only just see with my eyes to maybe stop myself from trying to block out sun and trip again.
You continue on, and the closer you get to the trees, it's still brutally hot, and even you can feel the heat through your sandals because the ground itself here absorbs and contains so much heat. steam rises up off of it. But you get closer to the trees, it cools down just a little bit with the shade that they provide. And once you're within that shade, you can kind of see into the darkness, into the shadow their canopy creates. While these 6 trees have a protective covering of bark, the trunks of these trees are covered not with wood, but with stringy flesh, discolored, rotten. You can smell the rot from here. And there's some sort of liquid that constantly oozes from those trunks and sort of courses down into the ground, pulling around each of the trees. You can see faint, dark, but spectral wisps of light slowly circling each trunk, and a number of humanoid skeletons that either they themselves are also made from obsidian, or somehow the skeletons have turned entirely black. They're scrambling around the trees, climbing up on and then falling off and then moving to another tree. They look almost like a swarm of castrecles or carrion birds that kind of circle around the dying desert wanderer.
Oh, I don't want any business with these.
Gonna cast Levitate on myself, and I'm gonna go up 20 feet in the air, just to kind of give myself some distance between these figures that seem to be moving precariously around me, and I'm just gonna use Levitate to kind of look at my environment and kind of be able to wander around and see what I can figure out. Is there any, in the middle of these 6 trees, is there any focus? Like, is there anything that draws my attention as far as, is there like some sort of stone, like some sort of statue, some sort of object, or any like writing or runes or something? Just trying to think from an arcane sense of mind. I was just trying to figure out if there's an adjacent for this. Okay. 10.
Okay, so there's a few things that you notice. That the skeletons, these, and you're familiar with the undead. These skeletons, they haven't noticed you yet, and maybe they won't notice you. They seem to be drawn like moths to a flame to these trees. And though there's something obviously, you could tell that there's something wrong, obviously, with the trees. But these remind you, the shape, the size, of things that you've read about, you've studied, you've never seen, that exist within the world. They look like trees of life. The trees of life are these incredible trees that are tended and guarded, usually by druids, very powerful druids who protect them. And they can provide blessings to the land. Entire villages have been sprung up around trees of life, and oftentimes other forces will seek out those villages and destroy them. Defilers will try to use trees of life to empower their spells because they give so much power to defiling magic. These trees, like these skeletons, like those fish, are most certainly unliving trees.
Okay. Interesting. Is everything that I see around me that's undead or unliving, are they all currently animated, or are there some things that seem to be not having life or not being animated?
Like truly dead.
Yeah.
No. Everything that you've seen here is... You haven't seen anything that's living, and you haven't seen anything that's dead. Everything is in a state in between. Now, I'll give you this, too, because you're levitating up higher. You get a slightly different vantage point of those cliffs off to the side, and you can see there that there's more of those petrified trees up at the top of the cliff, like a small grove or forest. And there's a faint flickering, slowly flickering green light coming from the top of that cliff as well.
Okay. I'm gonna probably go towards the tree that's in that direction, like the tree that's I'm at right here, and I'm probably gonna start making my way there. But before that, is there... I know you said that there was a lot of skeletons like climbing up these things and dropping down and continuously doing that. Do I see a gap where I might be able to see if I can touch the tree in any manner without having to interact with any of these skeletons, or is it just like a swarm of ants around like an apple or a piece of food?
It's like a swarm that wraps around one or two of the trees, and then like they regather together and break off and go to another one or two of the trees very quickly, bouncing between these 6 trees, swarming, then moving and swarming and then moving. So you could, if you're fast enough, either by trying speed or stealth.
That's a good question. What would I do? I'm going to just make a note of this place, and then start making my way towards the greenish glow, because it doesn't feel like I can interact with anything here that I feel comfortable with. So I'm going to start making my way towards the greenish glow. I still have levitation up, and I have 10 minutes of that. So in my mind, I'm kind of keeping a note like around 9 minutes and 30 seconds, or anytime I feel around 9 minutes, I'm probably going to get closer to the ground and stop concentrating on it.
Okay. So you float away from the trees, from the skeletons, and through this vast obsidian plain. You don't see a lot of movement down here in the area that you're in, but once a large, you're not sure if it was a bird or something else in life, but it's massive, truly massive, now entirely skeletal, screeches as it flies overhead of you, probably 200 feet up in the air. You can see it drifting through a cloud. It dives and then it screeches and swings back up into the cloud. It doesn't seem to notice you. And that's the only sign of life that you see, or unlife that you see on your journey to the chasm, the sort of like ridge that curves up and leads to the top of the cliff. But as your spell begins to end, you see laying there, nestled back up against a wall, obsidian wall near the ridge, perhaps dead, perhaps unconscious, Horsun, who was not with you when you traveled in the lands within the wind.
Okay. I'm going to get my staff, and from a good, like at the end point of my staff, I'm going to hold it, and I'm just going to nudge the shoulder.
Horsun, are you there? Please tell me you're living if that's you.
Horsun, you wake up. The moment before you wake up, last time we saw you, which was on Tales from the Silt Expanse during a crossover, you were on the Sirocco, fighting side by side with other adventurers, some of whom you'd never met before, in the lands within the wind. You faced this gigantic undead silt horror. And when you were victorious, after you were victorious, that gray wind, that ash washed over you. And what I want to know before you rejoin Ebo here is, as Horsun drifts to sleep in that ash, before he wakes again, what's he dream of?
Horsun would dream of his block, like where he lives. He would be surrounded by Kinendis. He would be looking into her eyes and then breaking her gaze to play with small children who are surrounding him as he's roughhousing with them, and they're starting to pound at his thighs, and he goes down to a knee and pretends like they're defeating him, and he lays back on the floor, and the children are just playing with him, and he locks eyes with Kinendis as he's getting swarmed with these kids, and he's like playing around, like rolling, and then he plays dead for a little bit, and then he opens his eyes again, and it's this place.
And you are back up against an obsidian cliff that's very hot to the touch. The ground is very hot to the touch. You wake up in a sticky sweat from the heat, with the sun beating down, reflecting off of the surface here into your eyes, making it kind of hard to see. With Ebo standing directly in front of you, tapping your shoulder, and just for a second, maybe a trick of the light, maybe not. Maybe a remnant of that dream, maybe not. You see Menendez. She's right over Ebo's shoulder, looking at you, concerned. And then the light sort of gets in your eyes. And when you blink through it, it's just you and Ebo there.
Is this you? Am I still dreaming? Are you dreaming? Where?
No, I'm sure if we're both dreaming, but I am here.
He'll press himself up from the ground if he's able. Where the fuck are we?
I just arrived. I have no idea where we are. However, to that direction there are some trees of concern. I headed in this direction because, nothing else looked any more inviting than this place.
Well, thanks for poking me, but the last thing I want to do is hang out around trees of concern. Any idea how we get out of this place?
None. I was looking at something that emitted some sort of glow, and that's the way I was gonna go.
I mean, it's the best lead we got. So, are you seeing illusions or mirages or anything like that, or is?
You keep your eyes out for, things that seem undead, that are moving. Nothing here is quite dead or alive, but is certainly not my work or doing.
All right, well, if you want to go towards that shining light, let's make haste, I suppose.
Yes. I suppose I shall lead then.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on the back. And he keeps, like, paranoid, like, looking around.
Don't concentrate on anything too hard out here. Just seems that one could get lost quite easily.
Yeah, well, let's try not to get separated. Wherever you want to go, I'll go with you, because we're out here alone. Could be a death sentence.
I agree. We're all that we've got at the moment, so, well, off to another adventure, I suppose.
Well, you trust your instincts, I trust your instincts, and seems like a great way to go.
Make my way towards the glow that we've seen.
So to reach the top of the cliff, it leads you around this sort of cliff wall that you're at now. It rises up, maybe 100, a little over 100 feet into the air. And the walls themselves, it's not like a normal cliff that you could maybe climb. These are smooth, flat surfaces, obsidian, reflective, and you cross around into the sort of ridge, this chasm that ascends slowly. Once you turn into the chasm and you're surrounded on cliff walls on either side, the shade reduces the heat of the surface enough that it's a little more comfortable. And as you're beginning to ascend to the top of this cliff, both of you can see sometimes shapes moving within the obsidian surface to your left, to your right. Once you see two hands press up against the inside of the surface, and you think that you can see just the upper half of a skull leaning against the surface, but without more light, you can't see what exactly it is inside. Certainly moving.
Yes. I'm not dreaming that, am I? You see that too.
Yes. There's many of those sorts around here. With things like this, best not to agitate them. I do not know who, or what, or where created these things.
Hope we never find out.
I agree.
Ebo's gonna keep moving. If he sees anything that kind of gives him surprise, through the little kind of clear obsidian walls, he'll probably just do a quick tap with his staff of just I'm over you, just go on about your business, I'll go about mine.
Okay. Both of you roll me perception checks.
That's an 18 for me.
That's a 21 Excellent. For me.
Okay. So you keep a very careful, wary look. Horsun sort of checking behind and Ebo ahead, and in the obsidian walls, you continue to ascend. This increasingly steep rise to the top of the cliffs. And once you get to the top of this cliff, you see ahead of you that just a vast, as far as the eye can see in any direction, obsidian plains. A few more of these cliffs here and there, they continue to rise in different directions. You can see in one direction heat, just an incredible amount of heat distorting the air. You're not sure what's making it that hot in that direction, but you've never seen, even in the desert, you've never seen so much distortion from heat. And also around you, as you rise up to this next level, this cliff, this next plane, that you're at the start of some sort of petrified forest. The forest itself is a great eyesore. What might have once been lush trees are now thin, obsidianized splinters that can barely stand. They're like brittle bones of a world that might have existed here long ago. And with your 18 and your 21, you can see that between you in that endless plain in one direction, there are roving bands, or I don't want to use the word horde, large numbers of undead just wandering. And you can see a smaller number of undead just seemingly wandering idly, aimlessly through the petrified forest as well.
How did they get here?
I have no idea, but my guess is that someone chose to use too much magic at one time and created something truly awful.
You do see as well, there is a green glow through the woods. You'd have to travel through this sort of petrified forest to reach it. You can't see what the source is, but you can see it just pulsing. Different than the sort of like stark, everything here is either blindingly white because of the sun's reflection or entirely black because of the obsidian surfaces. It's the only dash of color here.
But it's between this glow that we don't know, or those trees back there, and I would like to see what that glow is.
All right, it's how are we going to get through there? There's a shambling things walking around. Don't know if they're it's like us, or if they're just mindlessly walking around with no aim.
I guess we will have to find out, but surely staying in one place may also be our end, and we might be the ones wandering.
Right. Maybe we try to pick off one walking by itself on the outside, so we don't have to attract a whole mass of them. Just to see.
Gonna keep moving towards the one that Horsun spotted, but I'm gonna try and avoid that as we go towards the glow.
Mm-hmm.
Are you taking a sort of stealthy approach, using like moving between these thin, brittle trees? Trying, like, if you see one moving, you like shift around to try to avoid it. What's your sort of approach here?
I think, I'm gonna stealth through, but let me see what this says real quick.
Well, do you still have levitate up?
No, it went away. I'm going to cast invisibility at 3rd level, so bumping it up, so that I can make both me and Horsun invisible. I am going to I still need a way that Horsun knows that I'm around, so I guess I will make me and him both invisible, but I will get like a small piece of rope and like I guess maybe tie it around my ankle, and maybe that will still show where I am, so that Horsun can follow me, and I'll put a small piece of rope around Horsun's ankle as well, not connected together, but so that we just have something to know where each other is.
Mm-hmm.
But Horsun, so as you go through this process, and then you turn the two of you invisible, and Horsun, you see like you can't. I don't know. I guess it's up to Ebo. How do you imagine, like, when you're invisible, can you see yourself?
I would say, yeah, you see your own, like, your positioning, but others can't see where your positioning is. That way, yeah, that's how I have it, or that's how I think about it.
Okay.
I think I would know where Horsun is because I have to concentrate on the spell.
Mhm.
So I at least know where Horsun is, actually.
So Horsun, Ebo disappears from your view, but you see the rope kind of moving through the tree lines. These skeletons, now that you're a little bit closer to them, you can see that they've been entirely obsidianized. Their bones aren't quite, they're not quite the same shape as regular bones. They're a little blockier, chunkier, almost like in points polygonal, right? And they reflect the sunlight as you move past them, just like the ground does towards you. So they're actually kind of hard to look directly at unless you can catch one when they're in the shadow of a tree. But these trees don't provide as much shade here. And as you begin to sneak into the trees, there's one of these just aimlessly shambling skeletons moving right next to you, rocking back and forth. You can hear the clunk, 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 very rhythmic. And then from the tree right ahead of you, its shadow begins to move. It begins to lift up off the ground and take an almost humanoid shape, its arms stretching out like this, its humanoid head twisting to the side. And you can see within that shadow no features except for two red eyes that appear and give off a soft glow. Perhaps right in your direction, you're not sure if it sees you or not.
Horsun says nothing and follows the little piece of rope on the ground.
I'm gonna keep moving. I'm just gonna act like it doesn't see us. And I don't know how you do invisibility or stealth, but I guess I'm gonna try and. For stealthing, I know normally that implies that we're going at a slow pace, but if I was gonna make it ask if we can move at a normal pace, but just not have the advantage for the stealth roll, just so that we can kind of get through this in a timely manner, because Ebo feels like if he stays here for a long amount of time, they are going to bump into something, so if they can quickly kind of, not quickly, but like go through this place in a normal pace. It's probably what I'm going to do.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. Honestly, I think it's a fair bargain. So, Horsun, you see the rope begin to move faster. You can tell that Ebo is starting to book it a little bit. Do you try to keep pace, or do you go slow?
Stealth is not a thing that Horsun's good at. So, knowing that, he's going to keep an eye on the rope and go for that advantage on the stealth roll, and then catch up if he has to.
Okay. So Ebo, roll me a straight stealth roll, and Horsun roll stealth roll with advantage.
18.
This was a mistake. I thought we were going to both book it, but let's see. Yeah, a 3.
Oh no. No, I really like this though. Ebo, you push yourself to move fast, and there's at 1.6 of these skeletons that are joining hands, creating a circle. They're all facing outward, not towards the center of the circle, but away. And their interlocked skeletal fingers are raised to the sky. Their eyes are raised to their sky, and you can see their jaws just chewing, like they're trying to speak, but they don't have vocal cords anymore. And as you move to wrap around and avoid that circle of 6 skeletons, you trip for just a moment. They don't turn, they don't hear the noise, but you have to catch yourself on one of these petrified trees with your hands. As you push onto the tree, with a sharp snap, its obsidian trunk breaks and it falls over and shatters on the ground. It strikes another tree, and that tree snaps and it falls over and shatters upon the ground. And then, like dominoes, a string of these black trees begin to fall and shatter like obsidian glass on the ground, creating a cacophony of sound. Horsun, you see like some sort of commotion ahead of you as you're sneaking around the shadow and you're avoiding the skeleton that you saw moving pretty quietly. And then you hear that cacophony of shattering, and you can feel the ground begin to shake. And Horsun, as you look around, you can see now that one of those large groups of roaming undead in the plain outside of the forest is turning and running towards the forest. That skeleton that you just passed has turned around, snapped around, and is beginning to run, no longer slow and rhythmic, but thunk, 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 thunk against the ground. And Ebo, that circle of 6 skeletons that was chewing and staring up at the sky, they release each other's hands and they all turn in your direction and begin to, one arm after another, reaching out, feeling through the air, move in your direction. Ebo, consider his precarious situation for a moment. I want to know what Horsun does a little further back.
His objective was to always keep eye contact with the rope on the ankle. So would it still be in view?
Roll me perception check and see. Let's see if all of the shattering and cacophony of trees falling. 15. Say like you can just see what you think is the rope, and you can now see these 6 skeletons moving in that direction as well.
As soon as those noises happen, he would
is a little further.
He would book it to Ebo's position. He doesn't want to give up the invisibility yet by making himself known, but he wants to get close to Ebo. So if they need to act in tandem or act in something, they can.
Okay. So you begin running, and Ebo, as you are caught here and you regather yourself after all of these trees shatter like dominoes, you do see Horsun running in your direction as well. What do you do?
I move my way towards Horsun just because, there's no point into try and go further without Horsun, so.
Okay. Roll me one more stealth check.
Sure.
You can have advantage on this one if you're going slow.
I am. This time, that's correct. 16.
Okay, better. Let's see. Okay. One of the skeletons from the circle is moving a little faster towards you than the others. The others are kind of moving in other directions, like they're searching blindly through the air, swiping violently with their arms. One of them happens to be moving directly in your direction and swipes, and you're not sure if you're going to be able to duck underneath of it or not. It doesn't see you, but it might get you on accident. So I'm going to make an attack with disadvantage here.
Sure.
Nice. That's an 8 versus what would have been a 23, so...
Yeah, that misses. Barely, because I'm a wizard.
Because you're a wizard. So yeah, I mean, it almost catches you through the air, but you manage to sneak past, and you and Horsun, you see the rope, like, coil around and then begin to move back towards you, snaking on the ground. And the two of you regather. And Ebo, you're aware now that there are more undead coming towards the forest. And matter of fact, and maybe in multiple directions. You can still hear the echo in this plain of all of that shattering in the distance.
Well, looks like Steady as she goes, then.
Yup.
So gonna continue at that slow pace, and try and go towards the green glow. My invisibility has a concentration duration of an hour, so if we're gonna come to a point where that's gonna end, I'll recast it.
Okay. Yeah, you don't have to worry about that. But I do need from the two of you, you're moving together, a group stealth roll.
Oh, okay.
Group stealth roll. So
15 for me.
It's the average of your stealth rolls.
Yeah. So
well,
just 15.
that's a 15.
Cool. Very slowly, you make your way through the petrified forest. Ebo, now careful not to touch any of those trees, having seen just what sort of danger they present. You have to climb over obsidian shards of the shattered trees to get there. And meanwhile, more masses of these skeletons have gathered together. And whereas before they seemed kind of mindless, they don't seem so mindless anymore. They stare at each other, their jaws moving like they're communicating with each other, and then they turn and break away and begin to search in different directions in splinter groups. There's something organized to the way that they're moving and searching through the woods. But you do sneak ahead of them and manage to stay ahead of them, coming up to the very top of this ridge. And you can see through the petrified tree line now to the source of this green glow. Standing amidst the woods is a strange silver and gold vessel. It seems to be made of some kind of odd wood and metal, with a coiled spine that gives it the slight appearance of a gargantuan snail. The fore of the vessel is a twist of metallic tendrils that weave together into a long cone shape. And at the peak of the coiled spine is a green gem in the shape of an eye that pulses with a strong, otherworldly light. This is the source of the light that you saw. That gem is placed within an ornate carving in this vessel. The carving is of a skull with writhing tentacles where a jaw should be. Draped between the vessel's deck and that cone-shaped fore is a blue metal curtain. And Ebo, you recognize this vessel immediately. You dreamed of being here once. You dreamed of that vessel opening up this obsidian plain, and you dreamed of the enclosing horde of undead.
Right. So like the thing that was producing this glow is just something that kind of looks like an eye in the middle of all of this?
It's an eye. The gem is where the eye is in this carving on this vessel that looks like a skull with writhing tentacles instead of a lower jaw.
Okay. How long do I think the invisibility is up for at the moment?
Say, having slowed down and taken your time, you probably have another 20 minutes.
All right.
Horsun, I've been here before. Keep an eye out. I need to, investigate or look at this. It might be our only way out. I have no idea.
Yeah, I'll establish was it perimeter?
Yes. Not too far, though.
Yeah. Is there a lot of flat space around this thing that I can kind of like
You say flat space?
Like, so this monument thing is like in the middle of this platform?
It looks like if you've ever seen a shipwreck, the edge of the Silt Sea, It looks like this vessel has partially wrecked into what's a clearing in these woods, but there's no trees around. Like there's like a circle where the trees should be, and those obsidian shards, like the ones of the trees that Ebo knocked over, cover the ground here, sharp and jagged, pointing in different directions.
Mm-hmm.
The forest continues in all directions.
Yeah, and he would kind of make circles around this thing, find a safe path, maybe clear big things out if he has to get that path, and kind of do like a brisk jog while kind of keeping his head on a pivot.
Okay. And what's Ebo doing while Horsun's creating a perimeter?
Casting Identify and touching things he probably shouldn't be touching.
I appreciate that about Ebo. All right, so what is it that you're casting Identify on, or what's this look like, I guess, as you're casting Identify?
Oh yeah, this is also going to... I guess this is also going to make me appear, so I guess I don't have any choice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to grab a bone outside of my cloak. I'm going to... it's a specific looking bone. It's kind of... I guess it's probably just like a larger... Looks like a finger joint of something much larger than a human. And I'm just gonna tap the maybe like small taps, like as if you are trying to check out, like if you ever, I don't know what the comparison of this is, but it's just like I'm gonna make like small rhythmic taps with the bone. The bone only has like one glyph on it, like a giant's glyph, but all the magic that I'm doing is essentially just whatever that object is, I'm just continually tapping it and holding it with one hand and tapping it with the bone with the other.
And as you're tapping, you realize that your invisibility spell goes away as soon as you finish this ritual and cast Identify. The Identify spell, as you're kind of on the edge of this ship, you're positive that there's nothing magical about this ship, that you sense perhaps like latent psionic power here from within, but not arcane. Not arcane
Okay.
magic, not elemental magic.
I'm going to open my mind and use Mind Meld. And I'm going to try and see if there's any presence or anything that I can Mind Meld to. Before I do that,
Horsun, I don't know what this is going to do, but I guess you might have to keep a watch on me as well. Just do what you need just in case something happens.
Yeah. And then he'll stop jogging and kind of plant himself close to Ebo.
I will Mind Meld with... I'm opening my mind and Mind Melding. I don't know if there's anything to concentrate or focus on, but it's more just like putting my ear out, in a sense.
Yeah, wrote up in chat there. So when we talk about psionics in Dark Sun, one of the things that a trained scion, has the ability to do is, first, everything starts with a mental fortress, a place that they create within their own mind of safety, of power. Sometimes it's from a memory, or sometimes it's from a dream, or sometimes it's something completely alien, but it's unique to them. What sort of mental fortress does Ebo create in his mind?
I think his mental fortress is going to be a hut made of bamboo. In the Philippines, we call it bahay kubo, and it's just going to be like basically a small little home or hut, or a small little Yeah, it's just like a small little room that's made out of all bamboo, with like bamboo furniture and stuff like that. But that's the place where he feels more comfortable. And it has like smells of charcoal and like burnt charcoal and smells of like wood varnish.
Okay. So, as a bonus action, you communicate telepathically in your next turn. So, as you open your mind up, you create your mental fortress and invite whatever presence might be out there into your mind. You see the door, the opening to that bamboo hut, dark shadow cast over it. And through that shadow, reaching out and grabbing the inside edge of the door, one purple tendril, a second purple tendril, a third, and then 4 more on the other side of the door. And you can see that they're just kind of worming there in the doorway. You can't see what's beyond, but you hear its voice in your mind. Help me.
Well, I should help you, but I know that this is not the best decision, but what decision do I have? I'm quite tired of this.
I'm going to go towards the door, and I know this is supposed to be like my safe space or whatever, but my safe place. I'm just going to come up to the door, and I know the door kind of opens in towards me, but what I'm going to do is I come up to that door with the tentacles trying to come through, and I'm just going to try and kick the door down. Like, in my mind, I'm basically just saying, screw safety. Like, in Ebo's mind, he's the place that they're in, you know, they have to figure out a way out, and staying here isn't going to help them. So he's kind of devil may care. He's been put through so much death. He just knows like the only way that they're going to get out is through, and so he's throwing caution to the wind and just kicking the door.
Roll me an intelligence saving throw.
Sure. 22.
Ooh, it's good. So as you kick through the door, and this is a door that you've created, it's within your own mind, and you step into this other presence. Horsun, you see Ebo, his physical body, his arms shoot out to the side, his eyes go straight up towards the heavens up above and begin to glow with this purple light that shoots up out of them. And at the same time, Horsun, you can feel the ground shaking, and you can see the horde of mostly skeletons, but also shadows and other undead things now moving directly towards you, running, loping, arm over arm over arm towards you. You're no longer invisible. There's 2 of them, 3 of them that are ahead of the others. They stop. One of them jumps on top of a pile of obsidian shards, bends its crooked spine, and points directly towards you, and then turns and its jaw moves as though it's calling out to the others behind it. No, you don't hear any sound. What do you do?
He'll look at Ebo, and hopefully he'll still have like a foot in the door of this, of consciousness in this, and in the present where we're currently at. Ebo, we've been seen. Ebo, we have to go. And kind of, there's nothing.
Ebo is entirely within his mind at the moment. He's still staring straight up at the sky, that light coming out of his eyes.
In the landscape, are they coming from all directions? Is there a direction where they're not coming?
They seem to be coming from at least all directions that you can see. 3 of them are about to be on top of you. They're breaking through the tree line right now, and then you can see just massive shapes of the rest of the horde in the distance. A little further behind.
So his arms are extended or up?
Ebos, like side to side.
Hands up. He's going to like stick his head underneath his armpit on like one of them and put his arm around his hips and start to climb to the top of for accomplishing that lift first, and then attempt to climb to the top of this snail structure.
Absolutely. One of the skeletons reaches you and attacks as you kind of you're about to climb up the structure. The first of these 3 that are ahead reaches you and tries to leap at you and tear at you with its obsidian fingers. It's going to be a 19 and a 15.
15 misses, 19 hits.
Be 5 slashing damage and 3 necrotic damage.
Okay.
Do you continue to try to climb and risk an opportunity attack, or do you stop for a moment and fight back?
Nope. Continue to climbing. He will use a free action to turn back to the thing that scratched him. He's like, oh, fuck off. And then...
As you turn back to call back to this skeleton, you can see now 50, 60 of these things breaking through the tree line. Just this wave of black bones moving towards you. And this thing, having slashed you once, tries to climb up onto the snails, this sort of snail structure, and slash at your face with its other hand. A 17.
That would normally hit, but I'm going to use my psionic wild talent deflect strike. So right before it hits my face, like I wince, and then a part of my mind gets projected in like a shield right in front of my face, and the hand like crunches against the wall that my mind had made.
As the hand hits the wall that you've created in your mind, it shatters into tiny obsidian shards that fall back down to the ground. And with only one hand, the skeleton slides back down the side of this vessel, and you're able to climb up to the top. And as you do, that blue curtain that covers most of the deck of the ship seems to be made of some sort of metal with a hiss, like a hydraulic hiss, slides open from the center in both directions, revealing a door and a deck that you can enter further in this ship. You can't see through the door, it's dark in there, but you do hear a voice, Horsun, call out from it. Come.
And he'll like panic. He's like, who the fuck are you?
There's no answer, but at this moment, the vessel begins to rock a little bit, and you can see on all sides of this vessel, more of the undead are starting to climb up it towards you, towards the deck of the ship.
I want to ask a realization real fast. So as I'm carrying Ebo through this, and you said there was light coming out of his eyes, does it continue to look straight up, or does it like move with me as I'm climbing? Does his head like stay locked, and are there like
when you move him, like his head will continue to move to the same point. It's almost like he's always trying to look at something that you can't see.
Does anything break the light? Like do the laser things coming out of his eyes, do they intersect like part of the ship? Do they intersect a skeleton? Is there any effect in regards to that at all?
It seems like it passes through anything that it, like if you were to wave your hand in front of it, it would continue on the other side of your hand.
Gotcha. Okay. And the skull thing with the tentacles and the green gem, where's, in relation to this door, where's that thing?
So it's up above the door. The curtain revealed what looks like a deck, like a building with door that you can go inside of on the top of the ship. And you could see that the skull, that shape, that gem is on the upper part of that wasn't covered by this blue curtain.
Okay, how high up?
20 feet from the deck.
Cool. Is there a climbable place to get to that thing? Or can I
Yeah, you can certainly
attempt
try.
to jump? Can I attempt
You
to?
can definitely try to jump and climb up to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to try that.
All right. Do you continue to carry Ebo with you?
100%.
Roll me an athletics check.
13.
You're struggling to climb up it with Ebo. These other things are beginning to scramble up to the top as well. You can see the next wave of them, their fingers wrap around the edge of the deck of the ship and they jump up onto it, land. Just as you get to that gem, what do you do?
I don't know what the fuck this is, but maybe it'll help. And I want to reach into the eye of the skull and try to take the gem out.
Roll me a Constitution saving throw.
20.
Sweet. Yeah. So when you touch the gem, you're going to take half damage. You're going to take 8 psychic damage. And when you touch the gem, the lights in Ebo's eyes go out, but you're knocked off of it. It's like a psionic shock. However it's lodged in here, it's not, physical strength is not going to be the way to get it out of here, but it shoots you off of it and you fall back onto the deck of the ship. And you can see these skeletons that have climbed up to the side are beginning to run and lope towards you. That blue curtain closes, leaving you and Ebo in darkness on one side, the inside of the curtain, and all of the skeletons on the outside. You can hear the rattling, the knocking of their bones against the outside of that metal curtain. And as you're sort of regathering yourself, a light turns on through that door, a blue light through that door. And you can see there, through the door, a figure a little taller than a regular human, wearing long, dark clothes with strange, intricate designs, skin entirely purple, and not made of flesh like you've ever seen, and skull entirely hairless with 2 dark eyes, and where there should be a lower jaw or a mouth, just writhing a beard of tendrils. And the figure pushes himself out to the edge of the door and calls out, "Come," and waves a clawed finger towards you before he shrinks back deeper into the ship.
The fuck is that?
Michael, Ebo.
Yep.
When you step into the darkness and connect with this other thing's mind, your understanding of everything goes in a million directions at once. It feels like you're being pulled apart and then put back together, and then pulled apart and put back together. And then your presence, where you are, what you're seeing, perhaps this creature's entity's mental fortress, it's very different than yours. You are floating in a sea of stars, and you can see large, colorful, celestial bodies all around you. A pair of suns, but not like your sun. One of them green, one of them red, in 2 different directions, burning, flickering with fire, and a fleet of vessels floating through that black void, many of them looking very similar to the one that you saw on the ground. And that is where we're going to end our session tonight. and where we'll begin our next session.
Damn.
Yeah.
I never knew I'd ever interacted with one of those in a game, so.
Exciting. Yeah, I'm really excited to see this next story arc for the campaign. There's a lot of fun things that I've been waiting for to get to do with the story, and I'm excited to see how everybody reacts. We will be back next week with our full regular cast. And we saw earlier tonight, Toby guest. If you don't know Toby's work, go check Toby out. Toby Osmond on the social medias. He's also in Tales from the Silt Expanse, which airs on Sundays at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check out that show as well. See what's going on in our twin campaign. You saw Charlie earlier tonight. Please check out Charlie over on Encounter Roleplay, where she produces many, many great shows. Charlie's a wonderful human being. And last but not least, I'd like to go around and talk to Bill and Michael, see how you're doing, what you're looking forward to next in the story, and anything else you want to share. So let's start with Michael.
Yeah, so, man, yeah, that story's crazy. I never thought I'd interact with one of those. Why can't I think of what they are?
Mind flayers.
Mind flayers. I never thought I'd ever interact with illithids in my whole D&D career, and especially not in Dark Sun, so that was a huge surprise. I had no idea what the tentacles were. Like, purple tentacles are usually known with illithids, but I'm just like, those don't exist in Dark Sun, it's too dry. But apparently they do, so I'm caught off by surprise. But yeah, so I'm excited for next week's episode. It's always fun playing with Bill. But yeah, I guess where you can find me is at Michael Crits everywhere. You could even Google me on Michael Crits, and lots of my stuff shows up, which is a really weird feeling. And I also have an IMDb, so like that's kind of weird and cool. So I'm like, Mom, I'm a real actor. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, so find me everywhere and everywhere as Michael Crits.
Awesome. Bill, over to you. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, man, that was intense. Lots of suspense, Don. But yeah, that episode was illithid. Boo me, boo! Don't follow me for that. But
Follow.
If you pass the Constitution saving throw and you want to follow me, it's Bill of the Forest. Wherever, yep, there we go, right there. I do a bunch of stuff here with LFM, Director of Business Development. So if you want to do some stuff, give me a call. And Mondays on Encounter Roleplay, 3 p.m. Eastern, I'm in a Game of Thrones game For the North, where I play Lord Brolin Braddock, a man of mixed interests and conflict of character. And then on Wednesdays, I play a School of the Bear Witcher Whim on Laugh Love Lindy's channel. All super fun shows. But, you know, follow these two lovely folks. Follow our producer, Cord, Mythmatic, on the internets. He's amazing, and everybody else in the cast is dope. This is a great crew of people, and I'm really grateful I get to do this regularly. So thank you all for watching on whatever distribution site that you watch it on. That's it. I had fun. I was always great playing with Michael. It's super cool. Love his flavors for stuff. Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to the next phase and getting the whole crew back together after our crossover and all this. Like, you're hopping through different planes and, you know, ultimately all things bringing you to where you were always meant to be. But we'll get into that next time. As for me, I'm Jonathan Fry. You can follow me on Twitter if you like. I write games, I run games, I do a bunch of things. I post about it all there. Really great opportunity to work with a lot of amazing people telling great stories and playing great games. Publishing companies working on great intellectual properties, things that I love that now I get to contribute to. So I consider myself very lucky, and I'm very thankful for all of you watching, for the moderators who are looking out for chat, keeping it fun and safe, and to the sponsors who support LFM and make it possible for us to continue what we're doing. Please check them out. If you want to support the show, the best thing you can do is go check out our sponsors. So that's Dark Dice, Level Up Dice, Wormwood Gaming, and then Warriors of Waterdeep. Check them out as well, who just got involved with the show. All great companies, and we're here telling nerdy stories and loving it, and there's a whole world of people doing that out there, and I'm just very lucky to get to see that in my lifetime. So thank you all. Come back next week. Yeah.
We'll have a link in the chat for a reward for Warriors of Waterdeep if you want some in-game goodies. So click on that.
Oh, yeah. Yes, do click on the link, get some goodies, and come back next week as we begin what will be the final arc of this game before we reach the end. So I'm excited. All right, folks, take care of yourselves. Bye.
Bye.